If you like me, you came from shooting film cameras, you might feel the same as I do, that digital cameras are big, like DSLR are bigger than SLR, bigger than film SLR, and even compact camera. Only the Sony RX1 is actually a compact size full frame camera, and there is only one. Well, the A7 is actually quite small for a full frame camera. So for small camera, it's really up to Sony to do something about it. And I have been waiting for a small full frame camera, and this is it. For all of us or get used to full frame digital camera. This doesn't feel like a full frame digital camera, but it is full frame. Look at that, it's full. Well, I mean, A7 cameras are usually quite small anyway compared to other brands. Even across all the A7s, it's so small. Some pros think it is too small actually. So A7 actually have been going bigger and bigger after every series, especially the hand grip. So this is come back to almost like the A60 600, A60 400 size. I think I don't have one that direct compare to this now, but it feels like it.
Actually, looking back at this A60 600, looks like it still got a bigger grip than the A7C. The A7C grip actually looks more like A60 100. But then I have been talking about it is small, but the smaller means less.
Actually, a lot of things on this camera is really similar to the A7 Mark III. You can almost kind of think as this is as the smaller A7 Mark III. It has 24 megapixels, same as A7 Mark III. Dynamic range 15 stop, claims 15 stop. They say it is the same as the A7 Mark III as well. 10 FPS burst, even for mechanical or electronic shutter, same 10 FPS burst. It has in-body stabilization and same as A7S Mark III, 5 stops. And I love that it still has the real-time tracking, which is something that I really love ever since the Sony A7, not A7, A60 400. I love it so much. For all the cameras that have real-time tracking, I would put them on constant AFC tracking mode. It is so good, I would just use AFC for everything.
More importantly, real-time tracking is missing from A7 Mark III. That makes it one thing that actually A7C is better than A7 Mark III.
And for video, 6K oversample 4K full pixel without all of that you would expect. S-Lok 2, S-Lok 3, HLG, it's all you expected, to be honest. Well, the viewfinder is really, well, you can see from here. You don't even have to try it. It is the size of my RX100, the tiny pop-up viewfinder. It is almost that size. So put it in your eye, well, it's not too much of a trouble, but of course, bigger is better. But then the resolution is still the same as the A7 Mark III. It's just the size is smaller, and of course, it's not as high resolution as the A7S Mark III or the A7 or Mark IV. Now look at the camera body. What else is the same is the camera body material. It is still the magnesium alloy body, and it is really solid. It still has splash proof and dust resistance. Now it also uses the Z-type battery, which is great. I don't think they will go back to use the tiny battery that my A7S II has. It has the flip screen. It's like these days all the camera manufacturers don't argue with you anymore. Yeah, everyone wants flip screen. Okay, give you a flip screen. Look at the side, of course it has mic jack, and good that it's also got headphone jack as well, even in this small body. And it can charge with USB-C and powered by USB-C as well. Now, what's the difference between this and the bigger brother is that it's, I've mentioned it has in-body stabilization for 5 stops. But if you compare to A7R Mark IV, that have 5.5 stop in-body stabilization, which this is 5 stops. Actually, it's just a half a stop difference. But then there's a big difference is that here, there is no front dial. You only have a back dial and a wheel here. Now this doesn't have 2 car slots. This has one car slot. I mean, all the latest A7 has 2 car slots, A7 III, A7 9, A9, A7R, they all have 2 car slots, only one. But one thing fortunate is that it is on, it is interesting that it is at this side. It is much better than if it is at the bottom, like all the A6000 series at the bottom. The first time I picked it up, I was looking for, not here, I thought it is at the battery. No, it is on this side. This is interesting.
One thing I quite disappointed is that it still used the old menu, not the new, really great, improved A7S Mark III new menu. Shame.
Now it also has the new lens. This is the new kit lens. 28 to 60 millimeters f4 to f5.6. Now this lens you can kind of, this is kind of like half glass full or half glass empty, because some people don't like that, oh, before I use it I have to extend it, which is Kai hates this kind of lens. But for me, I actually like this because I think, oh, if I don't want, if I don't use it, I can retrap it. So yeah, half glass full or half glass empty. Well, 28 millimeters is not really for vlogging, but it's really great for still photography. But for vlogging, you will want something that's wider than 24 millimeters. I of course read the rumor and I expect that. I kind of expect that because it's smaller, so I expect it's cheaper. I expect the specification is not as good as other A7 camera. And turns out the price, the really expensive, a really important aspect is the price. It's actually around the same price as A7 Mark III. Turns out this is not how Sony market this. This is not between A7 Mark III and A6600. This is actually the same as A7 Mark III, which is not expected. So what do you think? What do you think of this? It's a smaller camera. By the way, it's a silver version. Actually, it's kind of nice. I like two-tone. The smaller camera even equal cheaper or less performing camera, or it doesn't really matter. Usually at the end of this, I will tell you my last video is shot with this, but not this time. This time, this is the first time I touched this camera as well. But this is mine for the next week. I've already borrowed this and expect a full review of this camera. Bye.